Hello, friends, and welcome to the part 2 of Parenting in the .com era. ये सीरीज पेरेंट्स के लिए डेडिकेटेड है और ये और भी ज़्यादा यूजफुल होती है एजुकेटर्स के लिए, ताकि वो ये समझ सकें कि बच्चों के अंदर जैसे जैसे उनकी उम्र बढ़ती है किस तरीके से बदलाव आते हैं और किस तरीके से हमें अपने कम्युनिकेशन को उनके साथ चेंज करना चाहिए। तो पिछले एपिसोड में हमने ये चर्चा की थी कि जब बच्चे अपनी बात आपसे शेयर नहीं करते हैं या आपको ब्लॉक आउट करने की कोशिश करते हैं या आपसे तरीके से बात नहीं करते हैं, तो ऐसे में हमें क्या समझना चाहिए और हमें क्या करना चाहिए। और आज हम इस बात पे चर्चा करेंगे कि किस तरीके से हमें बच्चों के साथ कम्युनिकेट करना चाहिए जैसे जैसे उनकी उम्र बढ़ती है। सिर्फ कम्युनिकेशन में ही बदलाव नहीं, हमारा कंटेंट ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन क्या होना चाहिए, किस चीज के बारे में हमें बच्चों के साथ बातचीत करनी चाहिए, किस चीज के बारे में हमें उनसे डिस्कस करना चाहिए। तो आज इसी बात पे चर्चा करेंगे। संगीता जी हमारे साथ जुड़ चुकी हैं, हम उनके साथ जानेंगे और अपने कुछ प्रश्न पूछेंगे और जानेंगे उनकी क्या राय है इसके बारे में। आइए चलते हैं। So welcome Sangeeta to the part 2 of parenting in the .com era. And last time हमने इस बारे में चर्चा की थी कि बच्चों के साथ जब बच्चे कम्युनिकेट नहीं करना चाहते हैं तब हम किस तरीके से उनके साथ बात कर सकते हैं। और आज हम और भी स्पेसिफिकली इस चीज के बारे में जानना चाहते हैं कि जैसे जैसे बच्चे बड़े होते हैं, से फॉर एग्जाम्पल हमारा 0 to 7 years का एक एज ग्रुप हो गया, 7 to 14 years का एक एज ग्रुप हो गया और से 14 to 21 years का अनदर एज ग्रुप। सो ये जो 3 एज ग्रुप्स हैं, इसमें पेरेंट्स को अपने बच्चों के साथ किस तरीके से कम्युनिकेशन करना चाहिए और कैसे उसमें बदलाव लाना चाहिए, एंड ऑल्सो उनका कंटेंट ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन क्या होना चाहिए, किन किन चीजों पे उनको ज्यादा बातचीत, किस चीज पे ज्यादा चर्चा करनी चाहिए बच्चों के साथ। तो इसके ऊपर अगर आप कुछ प्रकाश डाल सकें।
श्योर, थैंक यू रूपम। मैं पहले स्टार्ट करना चाहती हूँ विद द डेफिनेशन ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन। Communication is an effective way of either imparting or exchanging information, thoughts, ideas, opinions. और इसमें सबसे important शब्द है effective. अब मैं अगर आपसे कन्नड़ा में बात करना शुरू करूं तो शायद आपको कुछ भी समझ नहीं आएगा। उसका कंटेंट बहुत ही हेवी, बहुत ही सिग्निफिकेंट होगा, मगर आपको उसका कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आएगा। तो द पर्सन हु इज कम्युनिकेटिंग हैज टू बेयर इन माइंड दैट द पर्सन हु इज लिसनिंग और हु इज ऑन द अदर एंड is that person able to make sense of what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that for me the word effective ये बहुत ही मायने रखता है। और speaking of the 3 age groups that you mentioned, I think it's very beautiful because we have to realize what stage our child is in, and our communication, whether it is a style of a communication या हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं, the content, ये has to be ever changing. You know, if I'm talking to you right now, I'm talking in a certain way, but if I'm talking to my mother, I'm talking in a different way. If I'm talking to my daughter, then I'm talking differently. So I think with the same child, we think that, you know, the child is the same. So we tend to communicate in the same way throughout. However, we have to realize that a 2-year-old child is very different from a 14-year-old child. Right? So when we are, if we are going to separate, you know, the child as per the child's development, then looking at the child from birth until he steps out into grade school or a little more, they are in a sort of a cocoon. कि माँ है, dad है, नानी है, नाना है, या some helper है, siblings है, and little bit of, you know, friend circle. It's not a wide, big world, very small world, and they are always in a sense of wonder and imagination. So I think it's important that we talk to them through stories. We talk to them through physical communication. They like being held. They like, playing things where there is a lot of touching, feeling. So that is a sense of communication. And when we are talking through stories, I do not mean sirf Mahabharat bolo ya Ramayan bolo ya any other story, but हमारे खुद के बचपन के स्टोरीज क्या है, या हमारे फैमिलीज में स्टोरीज क्या है, या सिबलिंग्स के स्टोरीज क्या है. तो इससे एक कम्युनिकेशन चैनल ओपन हो जाता है जहां वो बच्चा कंफर्टेबल हो जाता है कि मैं भी अपने लाइफ के बारे में बात कर सकती हूँ. एंड हियर it is also important that you talk a little bit about feelings, but not too much. Like, a very little introduction to talking about emotions, that I felt hurt when you use that word. So, so very simply putting it forward to the child about emotions and feelings. So then the child understands that I don't only have to talk about the event, but I can also talk about how I felt or what did I experience. And I think also very important across all ages is it has to be a two-way communication.
Absolutely.
So if the child feels I'm being listened to, I'm heard, and these are actually listening to me, right? So because we have this habit of picking up the phone and ha bolo bolo bolo, ha main sun rahi hu, ha bolo, right? And a lot of times the child is able to, even though we feel that yes, I am listening, the child feels that I'm not important enough,
right,
given all the attention. So very, very important in all stages, not just with children but with all relationships. Be there, deep listening, to give your all to that listening.
Right.
That makes that child feel ki yes, I'm worthy and I'm being taken seriously, and the child opens up. And I think in this age also the imagination is very, very fertile. They start making up stories, and they have these imaginary friends, and जिसने ऐसे किया उसने वैसे किया. So आपको पता होगा कि ये स्टोरी है, ये सच नहीं. However, in the child's imagination, it is true. It's real. So you go with it as long as it's not causing any harm or you don't see it as unsafe. Right. So you go with it. So I think with a child who's just started going to school or maybe grade school up to a certain stage, maybe 7-8, they are in this where they do believe in what the parents or teachers, हम कुछ बोले तो हाँ Santa Claus बोले या राम के बारे में बोले तो उनके दिमाग में ये real है, real. It's, not like some fictitious.
It's not fancy. Yeah.
It's not fantasy. It is not fictitious.
Yes.
So I think we can use these tools to communicate with them and also listen to them, because sometimes they make up stories, and if you're listening very carefully, not to the words but beyond the words, they are trying to say something about them.
Absolutely. And their thought process, we will be able to identify as to how they are thinking.
Yes.
So what I've gathered from you is that as the child is just going to the school or is in the school for 2 to 3 years or so, story is a very big means of communication. Either you tell the stories or you listen to the child's story. Be very attentive when you're with the child, not get engaged into 2-3 other things. Give complete attention to the child. And as an educator, I would add to this that not just telling stories, maybe fictitious stories, but it's also important to read out some of the books to them, and also make them read the book in your presence. That will make their vocabulary very rich and their imagination also very rich. So, so that will be one very good addition. Right at that age, if they can purchase a lot of books and let the children go through it, that will build good language skills in the student and in the child, and that will be a lifelong asset to that child.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's very, very relevant. And one more thing, listening to you, what came up was listening to stories or songs.
Right,
There are a lot of audio cassettes available which are telling stories,
right,
like fairy tales and all in audio form, where though there is, rather than looking at a picture and being very fixed in the images, if you're only listening to the story, the
right.
child is imagining as per his or her inner life. you know
Yes,
so if there are two
yes.
children sitting next to each other and listening to the audio story,
Mm.
both of them are building different images in their
Images,
life. So
absolutely.
that's a
Yeah,
very, very rich, fertile way of
right,
bringing language to the child. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
Great.
yeah.
So how do we then move further as we grow and move into the other age group from say 7 to
Yes.
14 years?
Yeah. So now this 7 to 14, in this age group, they don't want to be, identified as children. They
Right.
are slowly moving out into the wider world because they're
Mm.
going to grade school. They're listening to what others are talking about their families. They're listening to from the academics that they are exposed to. They're listening to world history, world geography, and the whole world is expanding. So
Right.
then they will stop believing in Santa Claus and
Yes.
Ram. ये तो सचमुच का तो नहीं है. If you talk about God, they start questioning. So
Right.
it's very easy for us to experience. ये मेरा बच्चा है अभी. कल तक तो जो भी बोलते थे हाँ बोलता था, and
Mm.
अब suddenly he is questioning everything. He
Right.
is telling, no, I don't believe in this, right?
Mhm.
That's because here the imagination is not so fertile,
Right.
and they are moving into the stage of becoming adolescent slowly.
Mhm.
It's not like suddenly from 7 they'll go to 14. So
Right.
that
Right.
in between that 7 to 14 is a
Yeah.
slow transition where they are going into becoming a little more adult and
Right.
not completely there. So there is a lot of confusion in them. One
Mhm.
part of them wants to believe कि हाँ मेरे माँ बाप जो बोल रहे हैं ये जो स्टोरी बोला था ये सच है, and
Mm.
there is one part which is saying no, 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 they must be telling a lie, they must be. So
Right.
they themselves are very, very confused.
Mhm.
However, this age is very, very inspired by art. I mean, you can connect to this age group through
Mhm.
art, religious stories, and music. So I think the parents will have to shift gears. That
Mm.
this one is not really very small child, and whatever I'm saying, the child will take with a pinch of salt. Like पहले
Right.
तुमको बोलते थे कि ये देखो तुम ये जो रोटी खा रहे हो देखो यहाँ पे आके इस मसल पे बैठा है.
Mhm.
पहले वो
Mm.
छोटा बच्चा मानता था कि
Mm.
हाँ अच्छा ये मसल, मैंने ये रोटी कल खाई थी ना, ये पीस ये यहाँ गई है.
Mm.
अब वो सेम पैतरा तुम ट्राई करोगे, the child, if the child has the freedom, will say what rubbish, or the child will think what rubbish
Right. Right.
ahead. So,
Mm.
we have to gauge where the child is,
Right.
and we have to be able to change our communication. Here, the emotion part, the explanation part, the content part can become a little more stronger. In terms
Mhm.
of there, you didn't need to give too much information. Like when
Right.
you are talking about certain concepts, you make stories around it and they're happy with it. Whereas here, they want, because they are learning all this in school and in the outer world, you cannot give them false stories. You
Right.
cannot make up fantasies and give them. So you
Right.
will have to move a little bit towards the truth.
Mhm.
However, they are still not, old enough to handle it.
Okay.
So you will have to gauge कि मेरा बच्चा कहाँ है और
Mm.
मैं कितना थोड़ा सा कंटेंट ज्यादा दे सकती हूँ,
Right.
right? So I think that is something that every parent with every child, it is different. However,
Mhm.
the content has to be given, because if you don't give the content, the child will look for it outside.
Outside, yes.
You can give a little bit and the child is happy with it, right?
So my question here is that specifically in this age, the children have a lot of issues because they are growing up. So there is attraction to the opposite gender. Then there is also peer pressure. Bullying is also a very big part of it. How is it that the parents can help out their children well in advance?
Yes.
So that the child is much prepared to handle these kind of scenarios if he or she gets into it.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point that you have brought up. The key word here is well in advance. Yeah, so we don't wait for something to happen and then we are in firefighting mode. We have to be 10 steps ahead of the children. You know, we have to preempt what is coming up. And then again, when, whenever the time is correct, we will have to bring up some topic, like when we're talking about bullying, if the child is watching a cartoon serial, right? If the parent recognizes that there was an instance of bullying, then the parent can take this up as a point of discussion.
Right.
And bring her or his point of view there, that as a family, this is what we believe in, right? So it might be okay for some other children to, push another, and, it might not be taken up seriously. But we as a family, this is how, we would like, our family to take up this issue of bullying. Or if you see bullying, then do you stand up for it? Or do you come and report this to, even if it's not a bullying for yourself, you see somebody else being bullied, can you don't get involved, but can you come talk to me, right? And so it is all about finding the right time to find the opportunity to discuss this. There is also talk about good touch, bad touch, which should start very, very early. Very well.
Yeah, that's in the first age group, I believe, from 0 to 7 years.
Yes. Then also in terms of, I think, for girls and boys, talking about, menstrual periods and the way the body is changing, right? Even for boys, there is so much that is changing in the body.
Yes.
So as, sensing how comfortable the child is, finding the right moment, and maybe sitting together and having these conversations. And it should not be like, suddenly one day bolte, acha chalo aaj serious discussion karna hai. It should be something that is very organic. Aise hi baithe hai, like, just talking about something, then very gently introduce one topic and talk in a matter of fact way.
Yes.
It should not be something that it's something very...
It's an agenda and you had thought about it. That this
then the child starts feeling uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
And then each time we, have a meeting like that, the child is like, oh no.
Yes.
It has to be part, like we are saying, acha, school mein kya kiya tha? Like that, right? When we talk about that, oh, aaj office mein kya hua? Similarly, you can tell, I heard another mother talking about this, and then you start the conversation.
Right.
So you don't focus on your child, because your child will become uncomfortable. You bring it from somewhere else, and that's how you open up the communication. And another thing I think very, very important is to be very perceptive to what the child is saying, because at these times, again, they tend to bring up examples that, mama, my friend experienced this.
Yes.
So when we are receiving, statements like this, it is very, very important to not just be listening completely, but to be very non-judgmental.
Yes.
Right? So if I'm being very judgmental towards the friend, then the child feels if I come and talk also, it's going to be judged.
Yes.
So being extremely non-judgmental and matter of fact.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, putting forth your opinion, views, ideas. Yeah.
I think this is one of the golden opportunities that the parents should take up. क्योंकि अगर बच्चे कुछ इस तरीके की चीज बात भी करते हैं कि मेरे फ्रेंड के साथ ऐसा हुआ, और हमको उसे एज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी यूज करना चाहिए instead of pronouncing our own decision or our own opinion, we would say that okay, तो फिर आपको कैसा लगा, या अगर आप होते तो क्या करते, what is that which you would have done. So instead of kind of giving advices and solutions, if we can first probe them and let them come out with as many solutions which they have, and then carry out as a discussion, then the child will be really open, and the child would know that okay, tomorrow if I face this problem, हम आके डिस्कस कर सकते हैं, बात कर सकते हैं, और उसके पास ऑलरेडी क्योंकि डिस्कशन हुआ है तो कुछ सॉल्यूशंस ऑलरेडी हाथ में होंगे. सो कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल उस बच्चे का थोड़ा सा मुझे लगता है कि बढ़ जाएगा अगर हम ऐसे इंस्टेंसेस को कैश इन करते हैं in our conversations.
Absolutely. And we also, something I want to draw our attention to, हम लोग ऐसे कभी सहेलियों के साथ बैठे या फैमिली के साथ बैठे, हम लोग दूसरों को जज करते कि नेबर के घर पे ऐसे हुआ, वो लड़का इतना शरारती है, वो लड़का ऐसा है या वो ऐसी है, और कितनी बड़ी तो बच्चा सोचता है कि अगर मैंने अपने बारे में भी whatever is so called बुरा बच्चा's mind, I tell, then this is how it's going to be judged, right? So we have to be extremely careful what we are saying in front of the child.
Absolutely.
Even if I feel that I want to talk about this, it should not be in the child's hearsay.
Right. Absolutely. All right, great. That's huge inputs for the age group of 7 to 14 years. And so what about the next age group?
The next age group, yes. So the next age group, communication mostly is talk as less as possible. Because they are going into this world inside. They're trying to figure out who am I. There is this huge biological change that is happening in them. There is a huge demand on them in terms of academics. There is, as a society, there is a huge demand, and there is this, कि अब तुम adult बनने वाले हो very soon, right? Like 14 ke baad, it's like slowly, not just the biological, but also whether it is legally or whatever, you're moving towards the adulthood. And there is a lot of pressure that they sense, and they are trying to figure out who am I. And also in the brain, they are developing the sense of judgment, of reflection, trying to make sense of things around them and on a global level. Right? Like earlier, little bit, it had widened the world. Now it's much bigger. They are looking at the world as their stage, and they are already in that space. So here, I would say that the parent has to walk the talk.
Yes.
Rather than talk and tell the child, do this, don't do this, this is how you should be, this is the ideal. The child is, in this stage especially, is watching the adults around him and is trying to see who's authentic, who's walking the talk. Are you saying something and are you doing, something else? They are constantly judging us.
Right.
Because they are in this phase of judging the entire world, they're judging the people around. So I feel the less said, the better. However, constantly conveying to the child or to the young adult that I'm here.
Yeah.
And if you need me for any guidance or you want to talk to me about something, then I'm here. And again, very, very unconditional.
Yes.
तुमने अगर ये पास हो गए तुम तो I'm here. It will be a blanket statement that I'm here for you. Yes, it's important that you perform here, wherever else, whatever is required of you. However, in case there is something that goes wrong or doesn't go the way we have envisioned it, I'm here, or we are here for you. So that unconditional support. So then the child feels that, yes, they're genuinely there, because here authenticity is very, very important for the child. So if you are giving that feeling and also conveying it through your actions. So here, not just the words, but also your actions. So that is also a form of communication, right? Where
Yeah.
you not talk, but you might, show to that child that whatever, this is what we as a family believe in, right? Like if you are jumping the signal, and then you
Hmm.
child, jhoot mat bolo, rules mat break karo school mein, then
Right. Right.
they're like, what? You just
Yes.
jump the signal and you're asking.
Correct.
Okay? So here,
Absolutely.
authenticity comes uh,
Under a scanner. Yeah.
under the
True. True.
scanner, and yeah. So I think this opens up, and of course, if you have set the stage from the beginning of having communication, then
Right.
here it becomes much, much easier. However, a red, jhanda, that there is a tendency to go inward and to
Hmm.
look inwards. So if the child is, just putting on music when somebody is talking, the child just puts on music or goes into the room.
Hmm.
A lot of times it is not something to be taken personally.
Right.
Of course, however, if you see that all communication is closed, then
Hmm.
that is a cause for concern, but not to be taken personally if they're wanting a little bit of their own space, their own time. Yeah.
There is one of the very genuine questions which generally parents come up with, that especially because this is the age group I'm talking about, say grade 9, 10, 11, and 12, and these are very, very crucial years for the students because they are undergoing the board examinations, they have to go in
Yes.
for college admissions and all. So parents also have a lot of pressure
Yes.
in terms of that they should perform better so that they get good colleges and the things of their choice. And at that time there is a large possibility that the child might get slightly away, drifted away from academics, may get attracted towards the other things. And at that time we find that there is always a tussle between the parent and the child on studies,
Yeah.
on usage of mobile phones. And so that becomes very ugly conversations at times between parents, and that it does not nurse very good feelings amongst them.
Yeah.
And that is the point of deterioration. Uh, at that time, I believe that most of the time the parents really do not know what to do because they can't leave their child like that. And if they are going ahead and doing something, the child is not in a position, or a child is not ready to listen to them. So, what do you think is the right thing to do at that time?
Uh, I wouldn't like to give a very general answer to this because, there are various scenarios. But if I had to talk about this, I would say, uh, sometimes the child is not open to listening or talking to the parents. So then they would have to find somebody outside of their house or family, whether it is a friend or a family member who the child feels is not as invested in this, right?
Right.
Because sometimes the child feels, oh, my mom, she's always going telling me this, oh, my dad is always after me. So
Hmm.
they have this thing ki, I don't even want to listen to what they're saying.
Right.
Even one part of their brain is saying yes, what he or she is saying is logical. If that comes from somebody else, then the child is open to listening, because here the child, the moment they start talking, the child is like this,
Closed. Yes.
completely closed.
Yes.
So even if it is something logical, the child is not listening. So I
Right.
think reaching out to somebody, not if the need for a counselor or therapist or somebody, yes, but otherwise anybody, a trusted family friend, a neighbor, or even the friend of the child, somebody who's a little older, like
Hmm.
older cousin, older sibling, somebody
Hmm.
who the child feels is not so invested in this
Right. Right.
issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And with respect to what kind of things should the parents be talking about? Because this is also the age where the children are looking for what careers. So, especially what stream should they choose, and after the stream, what particular professional degree should they take up. So, there also there are advices which are needed, and I think the parents can also play an important role over here. So,
Absolutely.
with respect to whatever limited knowledge they have, and with respect to the different resources which are there around them, Do you think that the parents can hold some kind of a conversation so that the children get automatically either they are themselves driven to explore the various fields, or the parents can bring in some resources which can help them explore different fields? So what is that which they can do around the career building of the child?
Yeah. So we have to recognize that we are in times where the children are extremely independent in their decisions. So it is important that whatever way, whatever path is being taken with the consent of the child. And it would help if the parents have a very, very open conversation with the child, looking at two factors. What are the interests of the child? And then what is the child good at? Right? Because sometimes the child might be interested in becoming a doctor, but if the child is not really, a science kind of child, capabilities are more in the art, right? So trying to come to that midpoint, that what is it that the child would be good at and will enjoy doing, and then exploring what are the possibilities with the given resources, given, opportunities, and making the child feel that you are going to decide. Right? So the parents can make it, seem like that we are not, really deciding for you. And the parents could be along with them and say, would you like me to do some research on this and find, options for you? And then sitting together, so that if the child feels involved, then the child is more prone to putting in his or her efforts in that direction, because it's coming from an excitement and an interest. However, if the parents have done all the research along with some other adults and say, Acha, you're doing this, then it's motivated. So I think very, very important to involve the child, engage the child, and then do whatever needs to be done.
What if जैसे कि अगर पेरेंट्स के ऑब्वियसली बहुत सारे फ्रेंड्स भी होते हैं जो डिफरेंट फील्ड्स में काम करते हैं, तो क्या ऐसा भी कुछ किया जा सकता है जहाँ पे कि कुछ फ्रेंड्स को इनवाइट किया घर पे डिनर पे, एंड देन टू जस्ट टू हैव अ नॉर्मल कॉन्वर्सेशन अराउंड हाउ इज दिस फील्ड लाइक, और इसमें क्या अच्छाइयां हैं, किस तरीके के स्किल सेट्स की जरूरत है? तो अगर उस तरीके के भी कुछ कॉन्वर्सेशंस राइट फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग, जैसे इन द सेंस जैसे बच्चा 11th में आता है, 12th में आता है, 11th-12th तक तो स्ट्रीम डिसाइड हो जाती है, लेकिन उसके बाद भी जो उससे रिलेटेड डिफरेंट करियर्स हैं, हम किस किस से एक्सपोज कर सकते हैं बच्चे को, और वो किन से बात करके उसके बारे में और जान सकता है? तो प्रोबेबली मे बी हो सकता है उससे उन्हें फायदा हो, उन कॉन्वर्सेशन से फायदा हो, और of course, I think guidance from a proper career counselor also is something good, because career counselors ये भी बताते हैं कि उनका वो जांचते हैं, as you said, कि interest क्या है, aptitude क्या है, किस तरीके के skill sets हैं, और उन सब चीजों को मिला के क्या right field होगी बच्चों के लिए. And especially because हम आज की ऐसी एज में हैं जहाँ पे कि careers इतने सारे आ रहे हैं, नए careers आ रहे हैं, और आगे 5 सालों में और भी बहुत सारे आएंगे, तो जिनकी हमें जानकारी नहीं है, जिनकी शायद स्कूलों को भी जानकारी नहीं है. तो एज पेरेंट्स अगर इस एज ग्रुप में हमारा बच्चा है, तो हमको और भी खुद अपने एंड से भी रिसर्च करनी चाहिए और जानना चाहिए कि क्या क्या करियर्स और फील्ड्स हो सकते हैं. So
another very important thing, as you were talking, it came to me that there could be seniors of the child, right? Yeah, yes. So that could be another group that can be explored. That what did this one after passing out? What is his career like? So having more conversations with people who are in that field and in various fields can give a real time, experience for that child. Absolutely. Yeah.
So there is this last question I would like to ask you. That generally हमने देखा है कि हमेशा ही एक generation gap तो आ ही जाता है. Whichever generation you talk about, there is a generation gap, and the children feel that no, my parents really do not know what today's world is, right? तो क्या कुछ ऐसा किया जा सकता है जिससे कि हम इस generation gap को थोड़ा कम कर सकें? तो क्या करना चाहिए पेरेंट्स को अपने एंड पे? क्या कुछ पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं?
तो मैं अपने पर्सनल तजुर्बे से बता सकती हूँ. I have a 21-year-old, and a few years ago, about four years ago, he told me, "You don't even know the world I live in." एंड यू नो एट दैट पॉइंट मुझे बहुत बुरा लगा जब उसने मुझे ये कहा, क्योंकि मुझे लगा मैं तो इतनी डिवोटेड मदर हूँ, मेरा मेन प्रोफेशन इज पेरेंटिंग, एंड हाउ कैन माई चाइल्ड से दिस टू मी. बट व्हेन आई रिफ्लेक्टेड ऑन इट, आई रियलाइज दैट I live in a world where I don't even understand their world. Right. And that's because I feel, अरे आजकल के बच्चे आज ऐसे करते हैं, ऐसे है, वैसे. So in my head, I've already made certain statements, certain judgments about आजकल के बच्चे. Right. So I'm comfortable in हमारा जो जमाना था, हमारा जो generation है. Correct. However, I realize that if I have to build a bridge with right. that generation, then I have to move a few steps ahead there. Right. And it might be uncomfortable. Right. And it might be an unknown world where I feel, why do I even want to go there? मेरी जिंदगी तो आधे से ज्यादा बीत गया, मुझे ये सब समझ के क्या करना है. लेकिन अगर मुझे मेरे बच्चे के साथ कम्युनिकेशन चैनल्स ओपन रखने हैं, तो मुझे उसकी दुनिया के बारे में एटलीस्ट इफ आई डोंट गो डाइव इन, एटलीस्ट कुछ तो समझ में आए. तो जब मेरा बच्चा उसके बारे में बात कर रहा है, तो मुझे वो भाषा समझ में आए. It's like if you are in an intercaste marriage, the husband and the wife, two maybe from North India, South India, right. And if they don't have a language in common, then how do they communicate? Correct. Both of them will have to learn each other's languages. So that they are able to build that bridge. So similarly with my son, I had to understand what are the kinds of games he's playing. I have to understand the lingo he uses, the language he uses, right? And what are the kinds of books, what is the kind of music he listens to? Because if I listen to that music, for me it's like, "Arey baap re, karo," but to him it's music. Yes. That's the generation he's born in. So I might not like it. I don't have to force myself to listen to it. But when I
have the knowledge of it, at least. Yeah.
Understand it a little bit, my son is like, okay, she's making some attempts to understand my world. Right. So then he is also open to understanding what is my world. Right. So right. Yeah, that could be, a way of dealing with this.
And I also feel that, this is something which the parents can do right from the beginning, that get into a habit of, inviting the child's friends at home and, throw a little party for them where they can dance or, play games. So when they are into it, we are able to explore their generation a little more. So this is something which can continue as they grow up also. If the friends can be invited and you are kind of open with whatever they are doing, and then you let them be and just keep observing or just be interactive with them, that will help in understanding their generation, and they'll also feel open, because then you are allowing them to go ahead, have the kind of conversations, play the kind of games and the music. So if that happens, then also I feel that slightly the gap which is there can be reduced.
Very true, very true. Yeah.
Right. So that's wonderful. And I think there are huge inputs. If I have to summarize the whole thing, I would say, as you said, that in the primary stage from 0 to 7, usage of stories is something which is very useful. Reading out stories to them, listening to them, listening to their stories, that will be helpful. As they move further, then that's the time we can basically listen to them when they bring home some kind of incidents which are happening in the school, and be absolutely non-judgmental about it. Talk to them about what do they think about it, what do they think are the solutions, and then you can also come out with some so that they know that, okay, you are one of the trusted adults to whom, if the child is in any of the situation, can come and talk. And also specifically talk to them about certain things like peer pressure, certain things like bullying, or maybe infatuation. All of those things can be talked about. And yes, the body changes which are happening. And I think it's very important that we talk to them about the menstrual health, what happens during menstruation, and the entire videos can be shown to the girls specifically, so that they understand what's the entire process like. And
Yeah.
finally, as they grow up further and they are now becoming adults and they are moving towards, choosing a career for themselves, then our mode of communication changes. We have to just tell them that we are there, and we have to let them be and let them explore the whole thing. But to keep on providing support as and when which is necessary. So I feel if these are certain things at different ages, if we can work out with our students, probably that will be helpful.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
So that's so great. Thank you so much for your time. I just would like to know that
Pleasure.
what other thing would you like to focus upon in our next part of this series?
So I think one of the challenges of the current times is technology and the overuse of technology, and especially for children, devices like the mobile phone, which I think as early as 10, 11, they have their own phones. And it is, it's a world that just sucks the children in, and they're not able to let go of it. It's an extremely comfortable space where nobody's asking them to do anything, nobody's putting any pressure on them. They can just be. So I think that is taking them away from academics, other interests, even health, diet, sleep, which
Right.
all those things which are very, very important to a wholesome life. So yeah, I think it would be good if we could, bring those
Issues.
aspects to light. Yeah,
We'll address these issues. How is it that the parents can help children to become more, to use their time more productively? All
absolutely.
right.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much, Sangeeta. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we'll meet soon so that we can go ahead and discuss this particular issue as well. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you, Rupam. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. It
Thank
was
you.
a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thank you. So friends, I hope that you would have got some answers to your queries, and I believe that you'll be using it. And in case if there is something positive which happens, or there is a positive result of any of the suggestions which have been given by our expert, तो आप जरूर उसे कमेंट बॉक्स में लिखिए. ऑल्सो अगर आपकी कोई ऐसी समस्या है जो आप चाहते हैं कि हम संगीता जी से पूछें और आप उसके बारे में उत्तर चाहते हैं, तो आप उसे भी कमेंट बॉक्स में डाल सकते हैं. So thank you so much for watching, and if you have liked this video, please don't forget to share, like and subscribe this channel. Thank you so much.